Alright, YouTube, I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be discussing the highly anticipated UFC 311, the first pay-per-view of the year. And this one is an absolute banger. I mean, this card is stacked all the way through. With the main event, we have Islam Makhachev defending his belt against Arman Tsarukyan. Islam is pound for pound #1 in the world, and he is fun to watch every single time. Arman, up-and-comer, just beat Charles Oliveira. I mean, he's riding a real nice win streak right now. This is going to be a really exciting one. Then we also have Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. I mean, this is as high level of a co-main and main event combo as you're going to get. And then just taking a look at this entire card, not the entire card, but I got most of the fights here. We have Jailton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. This is a pretty big fight for the heavyweight division. Jailton Almeida is coming off of a loss against Curtis Blades. It was a weird fight because he did just get caught in a weird position, but we'll get more in depth about that fight later. Peyton Talbot looking to put on a show once again. And then we have Johnny Walker, Bogdan Guskov. Guskov's coming off of 2 pretty big knockout wins, so exciting to see this one. We have Kevin Holland, Renner de Ridder. De Ridder is coming off of that fight against GM3. He looked okay. I mean, it was a war. He had his moments. Kevin Holland is kind of up and down recently. We'll see what happens there. Then we have Money Moicano versus Beneil Dariush. Dariush has been getting absolutely mauled in every single one of his fights, looking for a little bit of a step down in competition, but Moicano, it has been wildly hot recently. Huge win against BSD in Paris. Nobody really expected him to do what he did in the fashion he did it, so this could be a big fight to push him into title contention. Then we have a light heavyweight bout that really doesn't mean much because both of these guys don't have a shot against Alex. They both have been flatlined by him already, so it's going to be a fun fight to watch, though, but nothing really crazy as in regards to title contention and title implications. And then we have, of course, the co-main and main event of the Dagestanis, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili for the 135-pound belt, and Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan for the 155 strap. So before we jump into any fights, I just want to preface that I really just want to talk about the fights that I'm interested in. I don't want to talk about all the other ones that nobody cares to hear about. So these are just the fights that I'm genuinely interested in talking about and would like to get my prediction for. So, kicking it off, Jailton Almeida, Sergey Spivak. So, FanDuel Sportsbook currently has Jailton Almeida as the -320 favorite, and I believe for good reason. Jailton Almeida is coming off of a big win against Alexander Romanov, sub in the first round. We did see him get caught in a very weird position against Curtis Blades and finished in a fight that he looked well on his way to dominating. So besides that one hiccup in his career, Jailton Almeida has been pretty flawless, dominating pretty much every single person he's fought, finishing every single one except Derek Lewis, which was a pretty comfortable decision. I have Jailton Almeida by submission in this one. Next, we have the up-and-coming superstar that is Peyton Talbot versus Raoni Barcelos. Barcelos has had a decent UFC career. I mean, he isn't a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. He has a controversial win over Said Nurmagomedov, which I don't think he actually won, but the judges did give him that one. Unfortunately, I don't think tonight's going to be his night, or January 18th is going to be his night. I think Peyton Talbot's probably going to box him up, do what he does best. I have Peyton Talbot by KO in this one. Next up, we have the number 10 ranked Johnny Walker versus the number 13 ranked Bogdan Guskov. This is an interesting fight for the 205 division. Bogdan Guskov is coming off of 2 KO victories, while Johnny Walker is coming off of 2 KO losses. He got knocked out in the first round by Volkan Oezdemir, and in the second round by Magomed Ankalaev. And Bogdan Guskov was the exact opposite, a second round and a first round KO for him. I do believe I'll be riding the hot hand in this one. Johnny Walker hasn't been fighting great recently. It feels like his head really all isn't in it. Bogdan Guskov is a great power puncher, and we know Johnny Walker can't fight power punchers. Give me Bogdan by KO in this one. Next up, we have Mr. Kevin Holland versus Rainer de Ritter. Rainer is coming off of a very weird fight in his last one. He went 3 rounds in a war with Gerald Meerschaert, GM3. This was a fight that people thought he would be able to come in and dominate. I do believe there were some nerves. There was some tension building up to this fight because it, of course, was his UFC debut. He had a lot of things to prove on why he belongs, and I do believe it got to him. I think Kevin Holland is a tough pick in this one. I just believe Kevin Holland really isn't as good as people think, and that he really does find a way to lose to a lot of guys. I mean, he just simply is fighting for the money. He doesn't really care that much, I don't think. He's coming in just to get paid and get out. I think Rainer de Ritter has something to prove again, and I currently have him as the plus 125 underdog. I think Kevin Holland at minus 160 is too much of a price to pay for a guy who you don't know who you're going to get. You don't know if you're getting the guy who KO'd Souza off his back, or the guy that comes in against Wonderboy with no game plan and gets knocked out, or even Michael Page just gets boxed up for a few rounds. And he's also coming off of a weird fight against Delite where he gets hurt in the first round, can't continue. I think it just seems like a storm for Kevin Holland that I don't think he'll be able to overcome. So I'm probably going to have to ride with the Ritter on this one, most likely by decision. And in the next one, we have Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill, both former champions. Both had to vacate due to injury. This is a good fight. This is a fun fight. Both very strong personalities. Who doesn't love watching Yuri Prohaska fight? I know a lot of people don't like watching Jamal Hill fight, but a lot of people like to watch Yuri Prohaska fight. I know that for sure. These guys are basically even on the sports books right now. I think for good reason. Both coming off of knockout losses to Alex Pereira. I do think Jamal Hill has a slight edge in this one. Yuri's losses have been very definitive. The first one, a lot of people called for an early stoppage. We all know it wasn't an early stoppage. And then Alex came in and made it look unbelievably easy in the second one. He was dominated through and through. Jamal Hill, on the other hand, incident with the cup. Alex throws the left hook, flatlines him. I think Jamal Hill has a little bit of a point. He does sound crazy a lot, but I think he does have a point. Yuri was dominated by Alex, while Jamal really did just get caught. I think stylistically, the uptight boxing, the heavy hands of Jamal Hill are going to play a factor in this one. I'm going to go ahead and say have Jamal Hill in this one by KO. Next up, we have Beneil Oldman Dariush versus Money Moicano. Moicano is coming off of a few really, really good wins, while Dariush, not so much, KO'd in the first round in his last 2. While Dariush has been fighting way better competition than Moicano has, it has shown a definite decline in his skill and most likely his mental. What does getting knocked out in the first round twice do to you? Versus Moicano, who is coming off of the best win of his career, a 10-8 domination in the first round against Benoit Saint Denis, left him bloodied, left him battered in his home city, all to get the doctor's stoppage. This fight, I think, goes one way. While Dariush on paper has the skills to do well against money, I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think the decline is real. We have Money Moicano as minus 260 favorite in this one, and Dariush at plus 196. I think you got to just keep riding with Moicano with this one at minus 260. It's a hard spot to play him at. Heavy favorite. We're not used to Moicano being a favorite like this, but that BSD win showed a lot. Gonna have to pick Moicano in this one. As far as a betting option, not 100% sure yet. I think Dariush has a great ground game, and I think he'll be able to survive against Moicano, so I'm going to have to ride with Moicano by decision on this one. Next up, we have a very high-level bantamweight title fight, the most high level we've ever seen. You have Merab, the Machine, Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. This is a banger, man. This is a really good fight. The sports books don't think so, on the other hand. We have Umar as a minus 330 favorite against the champion Merab Dvalishvili, a minus 330. I'll repeat, minus 330. There's absolutely barely any faith on Merab Dvalishvili in this one. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree. I think when you take a look at Merab's wins and how they were done, they were all done against guys who simply couldn't do anything to counter the cardio and the wrestling. I think that Henry Cejudo stylistically was close, but we know we're not getting the same Henry Cejudo that we got years and years ago. This is a prime Umar Nurmagomedov in a camp that has done nothing but flourish these last few years. I just think that Umar is a stylistic nightmare for Merab. He seems to be way better on the feet. Merab had his moments against O'Malley, but they were all just kind of wild, swinging, not much technicality going on the feet. And they were all to just set up a shot where he can hold O'Malley down and work from there. That's going to be hard to do against a Nurmagomedov, man. I really do think so. He's been wrestling his whole life. This isn't O'Malley. This isn't Peter Yan. This is a guy who has a wrestling base, and not just a wrestling base, the best wrestling base you could possibly ask for up in the mountains of Dagestan. It's going to be nearly impossible to just hold this guy down. With that being said, I'm going to have to go Umar by 50-45 or 49-46 in this one. I think Umar could do it pretty comfortably. And finally, we have the first pay-per-view main event of 2025. That is Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. This fight is going to be one of the most high-level fights you will ever see. And you can book that right now. These guys, you can even go back to their first fight in Arman's debut, and it was one of the most high-level fights. The grappling, the wrestling, the scrambles. On the feet, not so much, but They are a completely transformed version of what they were in that fight many, many years ago. These guys are good everywhere. And with that being said, I just think this is going to be a very close fight. Right now, we have Islam Makhachev as the minus 410 favorite. Even bigger of a favorite than Umar. Rightfully so, he is the champion. Islam makes fights look really hard. The last time we saw Islam truly dominate somebody that wasn't coming on a week's notice was Oliveira. We watched Islam go to war with a 36-year-old Dustin Poirier. And yeah, you can say, but he was winning the rounds. Dustin was boxing him up too, piecing him up, giving him the combos, all of it. Cut him up. Islam looked like he was fighting for his life, trying to sink in that Darce. It's hard for me to pick Islam by anything but decision in this one. I think Armin is too skilled, and we finally get to see him come in on a 5-round camp, truly ready for the 5-round war. I think the pick here is Islam by decision. I think this one is going to be very close. I'm going to have to go with a 49-46 or a 48-47. I think this is a razor thin, razor close fight. It's hard to see any other way. I don't think Islam is just going to dominate from start to finish, but I do think he's going to edge out the closer rounds and end up with a decision victory on January 18th.